Chris Amenechi, is a pleasure to welcome you at the Airline Profit Executive Interviews. How are you today?
It's my pleasure to be here. I am very well, thank you. And thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. I usually start off by asking my guests how have they started in the aviation industry. I know you are what we can call a veteran in the aviation, specifically the airline industry. So my question to you, how were you attracted in the first place to the aviation industry?
Most people wouldn't say it, but I'm pretty proud to say it. Nigerian Airways was my first inspiration, but that was at a pretty young age. I had the fortunate opportunity to visit Lagos Airport. At the time was called Ikeja Airport, not Murtala Muhammad as you know it today, and was able to go. In those days, you could walk up to almost the airside and see planes land, and my passion was to see planes land and wait for my father to come, and I could tell what plane he was flying. And so that started my interest.
Great. That's so if I understand, it's actually like it's a passion that was passed down from your father to you, right?
No, I would say so. I just always had the fortunate opportunity to go pick him up. So, and I always insisted on going, and he permitted that.
Okay, very good. Now, during our interview today, we're going to touch on 4 different areas. The first one being merchandising and customer experience to drive profits. Second one will be leveraging data and automation to drive profit margins. Third one will be how to mass customize without any hassles. And also the other point, the last point will be opportunities in Africa. So I think we'll start with the first one, merchandising and customer experience. So my question to you there is, in the context of the airline industry, could you describe how changes to merchandising and strategy can directly affect profitability?
Absolutely. I would say over the course of my entire career in the airline industry, profitability has really only come in consistently in the last, I would say, in the last 10 years. And one of the core reasons for that is the ability to unbundle the product, drive ancillaries and merchandise it properly, and optimize that to a certain degree, and deliver extra margins or extra revenue from the same operation that you had before. Most folks focus on cost reduction, which is necessary. However, that doesn't necessarily drive revenue, right? And it may help some margins, but obviously you can drive price down and erase those margins. So you had to increase margins. And one of the areas I saw as the only opportunity to fight what at the time were called LCCs in the United States market, and the beginning of LCCs in the European market, was to be able to differentiate the product in the same airplane. And how do you do that? Well, the playbook had always been simple. Oh, you match or you schedule, or you plan around those competitors. But if you don't have the stamina, which means the balance sheet to take you through this, you lose money. They're an upstat. They have some balance sheets to work through and the cash to play. They get to grow. And you saw many examples of that the aggressive approach didn't always come back as a profitable approach, and a lot of airlines got hurt in that. But the opportunity then is, how do you truly merchandise bags? How do you merchandise seats? Look, what does an airline do? It transports you from point A to point B, right? And in that process, you're going to sit on an airplane. You're going to move your physical property, which is luggage, from your home to that airplane to your destination. And in that respect, what are all of the opportunities that can bring incremental revenue to an airline? And does it have to be every customer that will do this? No. It has to be a level of optimization, or what they used to call earlier in the digital world, personalization, to be able to do that and to decide what somebody's willingness to pay is, when that willingness to pay shows up, and how you bring people into that decision to fly your airline. And so, yes, merchandising is just not ancillaries. It is everything, from who you fly, when you fly them, and how you fly them.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer, which shows clearly that you definitely know what you're talking about. So my next question will be, could you talk about how the principles of merchandising have changed in the industry over the years, and how airlines have adapted?
I would say, as a practitioner and probably someone passionate about it, a bit disappointed that the industry continues to take 10 to 15 years to evolve, and really should be evolving in a 3 to 5 year period. So what has happened, we've gone through what I call the punitive approach of charging or unbundling, right? Whether it's for bags or seats or any of the case. And at the beginning, most airlines were not very good merchandisers around this, because the whole idea was just make a profit and survive. And so merchandising and the retailing of a product was not the core essence of what we did very well. Those who did it well actually did better at it, right? Those who were punitive always had the worst reputations. And so, there's something to be said, the way you can have a great NPS score, if that's your choice of customer satisfaction, and also a great ancillary revenue base, and also a good airfare base, and a good reputation and a brand and service to make all of this work. And what you have, I think, is most airlines never had the technology infrastructure, the data to evolve their merchandising offerings at scale, and at a rate where it could be personalized and offered in multiple levels. And so you see what I call common denominators in the way everybody offers, right? First of all, it was, let me just unbundle the product. Second is, we do need something called fair merchandising, or shall I say fair families or brands, to sort of aggregate these products, because we're not disclosing properly and governments are getting involved, and this is not good. We have bad reputations, and plus even the products we unbundle, we don't provide them very well at the end of the day, right? Missing bags, double counts on a seat, things like that. So there was a combination of technology improvements. It took a while for many airlines to understand they needed to do that. The few that were able to do it early have the best merchandising infrastructure today, and therefore the quickest ability to move to the next level. Now, in also doing that, we're hamstrung by their legacy PSS systems and their distribution systems, which means, can a travel agent sell this the way you want it? Mercedes would not allow any distributor to sell a Mercedes-Benz, in a way that is not the way Mercedes wants it to be, and to retain its brand position. Also, will LVMH not permit you to do that? In fact, they also control pricing globally. So when you think about all of these things, airlines had to get their act together and the distributors had to get their act together, and everybody had to be on the same page as how to eloquently deliver a product across the entire customer journey and across the purchase process. And then also the other thing that we've not done very well over the last 10 to 15 years is when things go wrong, how do you actually remediate the situation? And whether it's refunds or whether it's repurchases, all of the legacy systems still make it very difficult for a customer to even get back their money or get back their credits. And COVID was a clear example as to how bad it was. So we're now getting to the stage where distribution is being tackled, and everybody's now understanding that, I need to offer this, and I need to make it available to my distributors. My distributors can also offer these products, and there's a way to do it. And we're getting to also the point where we see, first of all, who's going to pay for all of this, and who's going to pay for all the infrastructure that everybody needs to build. And the last part of it is in this flow is now, we also need to do things dynamically and optimize as ancillaries because, if you're a big airline, if you think of the North American carriers or the big ULCCs in Europe and the few in Asia, what you're going to find is you're dealing with airlines that have 6 to 1,000 flights a day, right? If not more. And what they're trying to do is optimize seat selection fees, zones, upgrades on multiple flights, where in some cases human beings can't keep up, and there are no systems that allow you to manage this at that level. And so the few of us who have been building these systems over time understand the new phase of the business are executives who understand the commercial stack and how to execute the commercial stack, not just also what I call the basic fundamentals of pricing and inventory management. You also need to know what to do with data so you can make decisions quickly, you can automate a bunch of processes, and at the same time make offers through multiple points of distribution and multiple points of the customer journey, and be able to eliminate all of the strangleholds you have today. So there's a big struggle in most airlines as to where the new organization should be, how they should be organized. It's no longer just a CIO deciding what your priorities or a CFO deciding what your priorities are. That's happening, but you see they take too long and they can't harvest that. And it depends on what sort of airline you're talking about.
Okay.
So there are many changes going to happen and transformations going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years. And the winners will be those who are digital first, who are data centric, and also who are able to adapt very quickly and not completely siloed.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for that. Now, the last question about merchandising, because you just talked about the future, how you see the future, and how airlines can win at this game. By being first actually to take or to embrace digital transformation. So the question is, how do you measure the impact of changes in merchandising and customer experience in terms of driving profit margins?
I mean, if you think about, and I've said it's a almost 10 to 15 year process, we've done it the hard way. And so yes, we have managed the customers through bad experiences in some respects to expect a fee. They're still not accepting of it, but for the most part, in what I call the first world of the airline business and the transportation business, it is understood, right? And so the next piece of this is, how do I eloquently provide that value, and when do I provide that value, right? So when you think of measurement factors, today some airlines say, hey, my revenue by just the base airline ticket is X. My ancillary incremental revenue per passenger is Y. And they use those as sort of measurements, industry measurements as to your performance on either position. The bottom line is really, what is your profitability, right? And what does it cost you to offer these personalized services, if you want to call them that? So you choose where you want to sit. You prefer, if I don't want someone sitting next to me, that should be a product, right? Yeah. And the math should work out. You're just managing real estate. And so how do you manage the real estate on that airplane for multiple flights and multiple segments, such that you eke out the most revenue from that flight, right? And if you're worried about your competitors, yes, you should, but worry about yourself first, right? Your competitors will do what the competitors will do. And by the way, the other thing that's also happening is everybody's trying to compete at the same price for a service. Well, you don't all deliver the service the same way. So why would you do that when these are discretionary options for a customer? And so the philosophy going in still continues to be the old school philosophy as opposed to the new school philosophy, right? And if retail should tell us a lot as to what's happening. I'll give a very simple example. And it takes a lot of interest in societal pressures to get us to where we are. If you look at luxury brands and the idea of social media, nobody wants basic products anymore. Everybody wants luxury products. And fundamentally, there's a reason why LVMH is driving a ton of margins, right? Because you're selling products that the margins are significant, but they figured out a way to make people want the product, even if they can't afford it. I'm not saying we need to do that. I think we need to be fiscally responsible to our customers, because travel is now a lifestyle. That's the first thing that we've not embraced. It's a lifestyle, right? And the second piece to it is we're dumbing it down that it's becoming what we call in the old days a bus service, right? And in the old days, it used to be a shipping service. It took too long. It was too crowded, quite uncomfortable. Airplanes came in and displaced it. Same thing happened to buses, right? And so buses were just for people who could not afford to buy a $59 ticket, right? And so what you find, the buses have also improved and figured we need to match up and provide services that somebody was willing to pay $200 for, right? And the airline business, we're dumbing it down to be like what the old buses used to be. And again, you need to have you need to have what I call leaders who understand the value of what they're selling and drive that throughout the organization. It's not easy, given how some airlines have grown up and have had to adapt and merge and combine. There's labor issues, all sorts of things, associated with this, that it's not that simple. Even if you had the concepts right, it takes a lot just to get the profit out of the business today. And it depends on what country you're in. So when you think about all of these things, the core measurements that are going to be pretty critical going forward is corporate travel. And I'm talking Fortune 1000, if you want to use that terminology, is pretty much a Western and a few core Eastern concepts. In Latin America, you don't have Fortune 1000 companies. You have a lot of small, medium-sized businesses. In Africa, so you have the same. In Central Europe, it's the same, right? And the few conglomerates that can afford to send people on $6,000 or $10,000 tickets and business trips for oil or for consultant or for investment banking, a lot of that is shrinking away. Still will be there, but shrinking away. And so the propositions on leisure travel, which is changing today, a bit of the thought processes and what airplanes you're going to order in the future and what the LOPA, what shall I say, what the seat configurations look like and what the product should look like. There's a bit of confusion going on, right? And so the fundamentals should still be there. And you're seeing U.S. airlines catch up. They just have a natural barrier because they've got so many airplanes to what is considered a luxury travel lifestyle product, and therefore how you merchandise that appropriately. The the Middle East carriers have been doing that, but they're really a coach cabin business at the end of the day, right? And a cargo business. And so, but they've done a great merchandising work and great branding work around anticipation for their front cabin services, right? Or shall I say the premium travel services. And the European carriers have lost touch. I'm talking of the big traditional European carriers. And in Europe, basically, you're fighting against buses, you're fighting against driving, you're fighting against trains.
Yeah.
And so then you're bringing in the whole idea of sustainability, which is causing some other frictions. And so the other piece that's popping up is that a small percentage of the population is saying, I don't want to be in the mass transportation business. I want to be in the private transportation business. And so the private jet business is going through its own series of changes. Well, all of this is happening, and what I call, it's not innovation here, it's disruption. And so disruption is coming to the industry, and it's coming in multiple ways, right? And I think the perfect storms are coming about, right? Pilots, right? How many airplanes can you fly? Drones, whatever you call it, air taxis. There's a bunch of disruption happening in the business, and sustainability will put some fences to that, assuming that people believe in it and take its course. And then the idea of being digital first in your business and across the board in every process you have is also going to be a challenge. And plus our population shifts are going to be challenges, right? And so it depends on what part of the world you're in. In the United States, people live in multiple places.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but a lot of people do, and they work in multiple places. And now there's a bit of a hybrid work situation. Everybody has tasted that lifestyle. And so, in the old days, we said it's corporate traffic or it's leisure traffic. It's really around the holidays. Well, you see leisure traffic every day and in abundance. Right. Yeah. And so the old norms and the old rules are going to change. And either the customers force you to change it or someone disrupts you and forces you to change.
Let's see. Very good. Thank you for this in-depth answer to that question.